Welcome to the Nightlife Podcast. Have you ever dismissed a dream as just the pizza or your brain processing information while you sleep? More than we realize, our dreams are a goldmine of divine revelation hidden for us to discover, explaining deep mysteries in pictures and stories created for us by God. Once you realize this gift that has been yours all along, you'll never go back to spending the nightlife just sleeping. Does anyone else hang inspirational quotes in their bathroom? One of my favorites that we have is from Teddy Roosevelt's Man in the Arena speech, which is appropriate to the topic of calling dreams. I wish I had an awesome, deep man voice to read this in, but I don't, so try to feel the words as I read. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Calling dreams are a special way God reveals his plans and purposes he dreamed for us before we were even created. God spoke to the prophet Jeremiah, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you. I ordained you a prophet to the nations." Every aspect of God's physical creation has a specific design and purpose, and the same is true for every person. God envisioned everything about us before we were even conceived and is constantly inviting us to see ourselves as we truly are in his image. Although we may seek to find our identity in many different ways, I've learned that it's impossible for anyone to truly thrive apart from connection to God, our Creator. While I clearly enjoy podcasting, I've never shared the whole backstory to how this came about. The vision for this started to take shape lightly as several people through the years commented that I should do podcasting. I started to get excited considering a podcast about dreams, one of my favorite topics. Then the name The Nightlife came as a spark of inspiration, and I also started to see the logo in my mind. About a year ago, to my surprise, this idea was converted into a calling through an audible voice in my prayer time where I found myself trembling under the presence of God. Starting at level 0 of knowledge, I read Podcasting for Dummies through an extremely busy season of moving to Colorado. Setting up the podcast room in the basement of our new house, I quickly hit many walls of frustration as all the programs and equipment were foreign to me. Through those moments, I would hear God encouraging me, "We're doing this together, right?" All I learned at that level was preparation for the next step, actually producing the podcast. Putting my voice out there triggered whole new levels of insecurity, and it took 7 episodes of wrestling through fear to finally get to the point I felt confident producing an episode. Through working my faith muscles, I grew into delighting in what I'm called to do, and wow, I can tell you this way is so much better. While I'm so aware of God's amazing grace in my life, empowering me to do what I otherwise couldn't, I'm comforted to remember that his work on earth is always done through imperfect people. His desire for each of us is a life flowing out of relationship with him, the awe-inspiring result of our humanity infused with his divinity. Daniel 11:32 says, "The people who know their God shall be strong and carry out great exploits." An amazing example of this is found in the life of Gideon in the book of Judges. The Israelites had been oppressed for 7 years by the Midianites who kept destroying all their crops and livestock. They were impoverished, and while Gideon was threshing wheat in a winepress, hiding from the enemy, an angel of the Lord appeared to him and said, "The Lord is with you, you mighty man of valor." This is a favorite of mine that I like to say to myself quite often. When no one is around, I may act this out in a mirror, imagining an angel actually standing before me, saying, "The Lord is with you, you mighty woman of valor." Then I'm all, "Who, me? Are you sure you've got the right person?" And then the angel is like, "Do not question me. You are a mighty woman of valor." Try starting your day that way sometime and see what happens. Back to Gideon. What I love most is how God meets Gideon right where he's at. Gideon is understandably discouraged and afraid. Picture being surrounded by an enemy army as numerous as locusts and on the verge of starving to death with no end in sight. When the angel declares his calling as the one to save Israel, he questions how, stating his clan is the weakest and that he's the least in his father's house. Through this interaction with the Lord, his offering to God is miraculously consumed by fire, and his life is spared from those intent on killing him for tearing down his father's altar to Baal. Yet he asks for one more confirmation that God will save Israel by his hand, and this became what Gideon is most famously known for, his fleeces with the Lord. After God confirmed his will with the fleeces, he whittled down Gideon's group of fighting men from 32,000 to 300. He told Gideon that if he was still afraid, he should go down to the enemy's camp to hear what they say. So Gideon went and heard one Midianite telling another about a dream he had. Apparently, people were receiving messages in the nightlife way back then, too. In the dream, he was surprised when a barley loaf tumbled into their camp, overturning and collapsing a tent. His companion replied, "This is nothing other than the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash, a man of Israel. Into his hand God has delivered Midian and the whole camp." On hearing this, Gideon worshiped and finally had all the faith he needed to carry out God's instructions for how he and his 300 men were to approach the enemy. The Lord caused the Midianites to be defeated by killing each other with swords, and the rest fled. It was a supernatural victory and deliverance for the entire nation of Israel that lasted throughout Gideon's lifetime. Hebrews 11:6 says that without faith, it's impossible to please God. While feeling fear is natural, we can choose to exercise our faith despite fear or any other hindrance to our God-given calling. Whether we are young or old, whether we have stayed on course or derailed at some point, we are always being called into the next chapter of our own unique story. Tisha recently sent me this audio recording from her morning time when she was processing an impactful calling dream she had the week before. This dream came at a time when she was feeling resistant to going on a second mission trip to India with her husband.
This is a dream that I had a week ago, and it's February 4th. In my dream, I was wrestling about going to India with Justin, just really struggling, not wanting to go to India. And in my dream, I'm in India, and I'm with my children, my young children. They're little kids. I remember Ella in particular. I got a sense that all of them were there. But I know Ella was for sure, because Ella and I were on this dirt piece of land that was just hard ground. It wasn't fertile soil, but I started seeing these gold coins, and Ella did, both of us. And we started going, oh my goodness, we're picking up these gold coins. And as we go along the ground, there's more and more, and I start digging one hand into this hard soil, and there's more coins. And as I dig, this woman comes up, and she's like pestering us, and she's like trying to get the money herself. And as I'm digging and digging, it's $1 bills, $5 bills, $100 bills, and I'm digging deeper, and I actually get immersed in the ground. And like there's a cave. I had dug a cave, which, would be impossible. But anyway, in the dream, I'm under the ground and there's a treasure. And I was just like, wow, what does this mean? So I feel like this is the right interpretation, that I am to go to India, even though not that excited to go because of the last experience wasn't that great. It was just super uncomfortable, basically. But it's fertile soil there, even though the ground is hard. It's hard there. There's not the comforts of America. It's very hard in a lot of ways. The smells, the atmosphere, the oppression spiritually. And the coins represent the kingdom, the people. There's treasure in India. There's people that God wants to reach. So as I'm picking up the coins, I'm picking up his people. I'm helping his people. And it's a generational call to India. That's what we think. That's cool. So Ella was there. I think Amelia was there, even though I don't remember Amelia in the dream. I really do remember Ella and her excitement and exuberance for the coins. And the woman represented the territorial spirits over India that does not want us to be getting the people, taking the people for the kingdom. And I feel that when I'm there. I had a lot of spiritual attack and battle last time I was there. So that's really interesting. But basically, I feel like what the Lord is telling me is he wants me to go to India, that there's harvest in India. His people are his harvest, and that I need to just submit to the Lord. And my life is his life through me. Yet not I, but Christ lives in me. And the life I now live, I live by the faith of the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. That's the verse that's coming to me right now.
In Romans 10, Paul says, "Everyone who calls upon the name of the Lord will be saved. How then shall they call on him in whom they've not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they've not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? And how shall they preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who preach the gospel of peace, who bring glad tidings of good things." Tisha knows through this dream that she's called to go back to India and that there is a rich harvest of people for God's kingdom there, even though it is hard ground. I'm attaching a Venmo link in the show notes if you would like to partner in her mission trip to India this fall. Thanks so much for sharing. Some calling dreams correlate to the present or near future, like Tisha's, and some are speaking to something years down the road. Grace shared a dream she says has never left her, that she had when she was young and now recognizes was a glimpse of her future calling that she's walking in today.
Hello, my name is Grace Youngson, and I'm the founder and president of Life is for Everyone and Luli Health. When I was 12 years old, or maybe a little bit younger, I had a dream that was all about what I am doing today. And it was definitely a dream from God. God actually does not speak to me in dreams very often, and so this one really stood out to me. Most of the time, if I have a dream, I don't really tend to remember it afterwards. I may remember it the next morning, and usually they're just random things. But this one I still remember to this day. The dream was I was sitting on a bench with a girl, and I was probably the age I am now, or thereabouts in this dream, so I'm 24 now, and I was about 12 when I had this dream, and I was sitting on this bench next to this girl, and I could tell from the dream that I was mentoring her to some extent. And I remember waking up and thinking, that's strange. I don't really see myself doing that with my life. At that point, my career aspiration was to be a vet. And it's just so cool how God will plant those seeds for what you're called to do in the future in your heart at a young age. Anyway, that dream just, I thought, that's nice. And it just continued to live in my heart. And now what is so interesting is that is exactly what I do today. I help young women and teach them about healthy relationships. I help young women who are stuck in unplanned pregnancies find life-empowering resources. And some girls say that I am a mentor to them. And so it's just really amazing looking back on that and thinking about how God planted that in my heart at a young age. And so that's really special to me. And I do believe that dreams have so much purpose from them, from the Lord. And it definitely acts as a confirmation to me of that. And so, yes, that is my story when it comes to dreams from the Lord.
Grace founded Life is for Everyone in January of 2022 with the vision of filling the gap in the pro-life movement for media-based education on motherhood and family. Through teaching classes, podcasting, and her website, she provides resources for women relating to nutrition, wellness, and healthy relationship advice from qualified professionals. Grace is also launching a menstrual tracking app for women this summer through her second organization, Luli Health. This app will feature free 24/7 access to a certified nurse chat line, support from qualified professionals who will be able to advise women on their cycles, and provide support to those experiencing an unplanned pregnancy. If you would like to learn more about Life is for Everyone or Luli Health, or partner with all Grace is doing, please check out the links in the show notes. Speaking of pregnancy, pregnant dreams are often calling dreams. One listener had a dream she was so pregnant she kept falling down because of the weight of her belly. This came just before a significant move of God in her life that propelled her into a new direction she hadn't foreseen. When a woman is pregnant naturally, she is constantly aware that her body is not her own and that a big life change is coming once the baby arrives. There are certain things she can't do or can't eat to protect what is growing inside of her. Connecting this to spiritual pregnancy, when we know we are carrying a work of God on the inside of us, it affects the decisions we make and what we prioritize. I once had a dream that my husband was pregnant, and that was a pretty funny picture. He was dressed in his normal clothes with a giant baby bump. I've had dreams I'm pregnant, my daughters are pregnant, and other people I know in all types of situations. A single baby, multiple babies, pregnancy through fertility treatments, about to give birth, carrying their own baby, or someone else's. These usually symbolize a new work of God that's about to be revealed, a new assignment, a new season, partnership, or promise about to come forth. The circumstances of the dream direct us in how to posture ourselves and pray, either for ourselves or others. Penny dreamed a friend was telling her about her business venture. In the dream, she was impressed with her friend's confidence, passion, and knowledge. Her friend was going on a ship selling honey. She was telling her about the limits of what you could sell and what you'd want to bother selling due to international laws, because the ship was going into international waters. Then Penny was going to go too, selling salt. They were going to be close to each other, but selling different items. Since the trip is coming, this is a future tense dream. It also seems to be a ministry calling dream, bringing the word of God, which is represented by honey, to overseas nations. Her friend's business venture is a reference to Jesus' words that he must be about his Father's business. A strategic relationship is revealed with Penny's friend, who has knowledge and experience she will need starting out. Penny is being called into ministry also, selling salt, a picture of Jesus' words about being the salt of the earth. When receiving a calling dream, begin by praying into what you believe God is showing you, and equally as important, God's timing. Timing is an often misunderstood key to all prophetic words. It seems Penny has the beginning of a picture forming, and now will need to seek God for more details, such as how, when, and what preparation will be required. I've heard it said that most people don't fail, they quit. Calling dreams are meant to give us our why, or give it back to us when we've lost it, infusing our lives with the passion and purpose we need as energy sources to keep running our race with endurance. Thanks so much for sending in these dreams. All dreams have a different style particular to the dreamer, and I really appreciate having so many examples to work with. If you have a dream to contribute, please use the contact button on my website, www.thenightlife-podcast.com. Also, let me know if you're interested in being interviewed on the show. If you'd like to share via audio recording like some of these today, Instagram video, or if you have any recommendations for future episodes. It's always inspiring hearing from other dreamers, and I have a lot of episodes in queue that I can always use more content for. One final note. It's easy to mix up our calling with our identity. Colossians 2:6 says, "As we have received Christ, so we are to walk with him." Meaning, just as we are saved by grace through faith, we walk with Jesus in that same way. We all thrive with clarity of purpose in every season of life, flowing out of a deep, abiding relationship with God. We are God's kids, and more than anything, He wants to love and enjoy us, and for us to love and enjoy Him too. I hope you keep this in mind as you face your own mighty exploits this week. Mine is to go clean my house now. Thanks for listening.